Welcome to Going the Extra Mile, a podcast brought to you by Newleaf Training and Development. Each edition is sure to lift your spirit and encourage you in today's working world. Enjoy!
When my wife was a little girl, one of her most treasured possessions was a small handmade statue of Rupert the Bear, a classic British children's character. A family friend had crafted him with painstaking detail, the jaunty red sweater, the bright yellow trousers, the warm, kind expression. And for years, Rupert sat proudly in her childhood home, apparently, and then in our early marital homes, always a cheerful companion out in the garden to her early memories. And when we left England to move to California, she actually left Rupert behind, thinking he'd be safe back in her family's garden. He took up residence in a quiet corner, keeping silent watch over flowers and grass. But England's weather is no gentle caretaker. For 22 years, Rupert just stood there, enduring rain, snow, wind and frost. His bright colours faded to pale shadows, the once crisp details of his sweater and trousers chipped away, as if wondering when my wife might return. Most people might have written him off, too worn by time and the elements to be worth saving, but not my wife. On a recent trip back to England, she decided Rupert's story wasn't over, and she brought him back to sunny California in her luggage, a slightly battered stowaway among clothes and souvenirs. Then she set to work. She cleared a space at the kitchen table, gathered brushes, paints and patience, and first she cleaned him thoroughly, scraping away decades of grime and moss. And then with a careful eye, she began lovingly repainting layer by layer by layer, restoring the vibrant red, the sunshine yellow, and that gentle, loving smile. And slowly, I noticed that Rupert returned to life, not exactly as he'd been before, but perhaps even better, carrying a new dignity of having weathered storms and found a new home far from where he was first created. And watching her work, it struck me what she'd done for Rupert is what great leaders do for people. You see, in every organisation, I've noticed there are employees who have weathered their own storms. Maybe personal challenges have dimmed their focus. Maybe a previous leader undervalued them. Maybe a big organisational change left them sidelined. Or perhaps they're an older employee who started believing that their best contributions are actually behind them in the rearview mirror. So like Rupert in the garden, they've been exposed to forces that wore down their energy and confidence. And just as my wife saw Rupert not as he was in his weather-beaten state, but as he could be again, a great leader sees beyond the current surface. Re-engaging such a person doesn't happen with a quick pep talk or a generic training course. It starts with clearing away the debris, removing the weight of neglect, misunderstanding, or misalignment. Sometimes that means a genuine one-on-one conversation where you listen twice as much as you speak, without judgment, learning their story and acknowledge the storms that they faced. Then comes the repainting stage, reconnecting them with their purpose and value. This might mean giving them a project that draws on their deep expertise, asking them perhaps to mentor younger colleagues, or putting them in a role where their knowledge and experience are indispensable. It's about showing them through action that they still matter now. Just like Rupert, these employees don't need replacing, they actually just need restoring. The marks of the years are not flaws, they're proof of resilience and can actually be wonderful assets to an organisation. When my wife placed Rupert in our new garden at the home on the hill that they call Magic, she didn't just see a childhood toy, she saw years of joy, the craftsmanship of a family friend, sadly long gone, and the grit of something that had weathered decades and still stood proudly. And in that same way, when leaders truly look at their people, they see not just the present moment, but the rich story of who they've been and who they can still become. And this story reminded me that I think that one of leadership's most noble responsibilities, dare I say sacred responsibilities, is to re-engage the heart, the mind, and the spirit of someone who, for whatever reason, has been metaphorically left alone in the garden and felt uncared for. We're glad to have Rupert back.
I hope you found that short story useful, and if you did, feel free to rate, review, and share this podcast. We'll be back next week with another episode, and we also invite you to check out our other weekly podcast, Take 5, an inspiring interview with a leader worth listening to. Bye for now.